is we still try to increase our financial education outreach. And so what I'm going to do, we're going to start off with Karen Meyer. She's the Executive Director of the Education Credit Union Council. And we will be able to move forward to the next slide and have Karen speak now.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Karen Meyer. I'm with the Education Credit Union Council, and we're thrilled to have so many of you with us today. We've got representation from across the nation and a mix of both NYIB and also our members, ECUC, and of course some overlapping. Just a very quick overview of ECUC. Like NYIB, we have been around for a long time, since 1972, serving education credit unions, university, and K-12 school credit unions. And of course, with so many credit unions now community-wide, serving several different credit unions beyond just school and universities to help them with financial education. So from here, I will turn it back over to Leah.
Slide there for you, Karen. Sorry about that. So there is the information if you want to look into the Education Credit Union Council. There's Karen's information there. This webinar is being recorded, and we do plan on sharing out everybody's contact information if you agreed to do so when you registered. So now we're going to turn it over to Trish Olson. She is the chair of NYIB, so we can go to the next slide. And there's 2 slides here, Trish, so when you're ready to move on to the next one, just tell Angela to move on.
Sounds great. Hello, everyone. Great to be a part of this awesome webinar today. And thank you to Leah and Karen for working together to put this together for all of us. As Leah mentioned, I am the NYIB chair for this year. I also work for Wings Financial Credit Union, and I'm the Education and Youth Programs Manager. I've been part of NYIB for quite some time now, and as Karen mentioned, I'm proud to say that we've also been around since 1972. And as the slide shows, you can see that we're a network of credit union professionals responsible for teaching financial education to all ages, from kindergarten to adults in the communities that we serve. You can read all of the focuses, I'm sure very similar to the same focuses that you all have in your day-to-day jobs as well. And we are the only credit union organization that maintains standardized reporting of financial education presentations to youth. We're excited to say that hopefully in the very near future that will be expanded to also include adult education presentation reporting as well. Next slide, please. As you can see here, we've got all of our fancy little social media handles, and we would love for you to follow us and connect with us. You can see that we've got several regions available, or I should say several regions out there in the United States here. So if you identify which region you're in, that could be helpful for you to reach some other resources as well. And as most of you have probably already heard, unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have made the difficult decision to cancel the NYIB conference for this year in Salt Lake City. We are excited to also say, though, that we will be looking to continue the conference next summer again in 2021. So stay tuned for upcoming information on that. And our goal this year, while we are not having a conference, is to continue to work with other organizations as well as many of you to provide as much relevant content as we can moving forward. So I appreciate everyone joining us today, and welcome to all of those of you that have never heard of NYIB, and to those of you that have not heard of the ECUC. We are happy to partner together and hope that everyone enjoys this webinar.
Great, thank you, Trish. So when you filled out your registration, we kind of wanted to see what people were really looking for outreach at this point. So this is just kind of a pie chart of how people answer their questions, and really see that financial education, yes, it's still out there. It's still in the forefront of our mind. So we want to make sure that we are giving you this webinars, resources that can help you with this. We have a lot of people coming up to speak over the next few months. First, we're going to start off with the NCUA. Ken Worthy is here with us today. And so we're going to start off with Ken.
Thank you, Leah, and thank you to the Education Credit Union Council and National Youth Involvement Board for this opportunity to present on this broadcast. I hope everyone listening is doing well during this time, and I hope you continue to stay safe and healthy. On this broadcast, I will share some timely NCUA resources covering share insurance, consumer financial protection, and general financial literacy topics. These resources are provided at no charge to credit unions. So as you listen to what is available, please feel free to access the resources, place links to them on your website, share them in your newsletters and on social media. Use them widely. They're for you to use. Next slide, please. And just a general reminder that the views that I express are my own and do not represent the views of the NCUA board, its management, or staff. Next slide. I will start off with a reminder about NCUA share insurance resources for your members. This topic is particularly timely. These resources help to promote confidence in the credit union system of cooperative credit, and we emphasize that the message that not one penny of insured savings has ever been lost by a member of a federally insured credit union. We provide a toolkit of resources for consumers on mycreditunion.gov that you can use. We have many credit unions that already use this toolkit. They link to it on their website along with the share insurance seal that you see there so that consumers can get a plethora of resources on how their money is safe and secure at a federally insured institution like yours. I will discuss more in a moment. Next slide. We also conducted a webinar with the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation to discuss share insurance and answer some frequently asked questions from consumers directly. This webinar is now available on demand. You can go to NCUA social media channels to see that there are various posts that link to the archive. Apologize, I don't have the archive on this slide, but the link to it. But you can go to our web platforms to access the link. You can also email me, and I'll give you my email at the end of this presentation. Next slide. We also have a number of coronavirus-related resources. If you have not already seen the resources, please go to ncua.gov. There are resources on policy and regulatory issues. There are FAQs from federal credit unions that we have answers to, and from credit unions in general. We also have frequently asked questions for consumers and credit union member owners. The FAQ section for members is particularly helpful because it gives you an idea of what we in the federal government are hearing. We update this information regularly as we hear from members in the public directly, so check out that section. It might help guide your education and communication efforts and engagement efforts with your members. We also have links to other critical programs like recently passed legislation from the Small Business Administration and Internal Revenue Service. Next slide. So this is our primary financial literacy and consumer financial protection site. I'll go over some featured resources in a moment, but if you haven't checked out mycreditunion.gov yet, please do. There's a plethora of resources on the site. It's also available in Spanish at the link there. The site is also designed as very mobile friendly, so you should easily be able to access it from your mobile device. This month is also National Financial Capability Month, so there are a lot of resources that are relevant right now. Obviously, with the coronavirus-related resources, we also have those. Next month is Older Americans Month, and May 4th through 8th is Teacher Appreciation Week. These are national engagement initiatives that you may want to participate in, and we have resources on mycreditunion.gov to help. Next slide. These are some of the topics we cover on the site. There are a lot of folks perhaps looking for a financial institution with a lot of the economic impact payments coming from the federal government. So now may be the time to get in front of new potential members who need access to a safe and affordable account. So there's an infographic that I'll go over with you in just a moment, but that talks about what credit unions are, what does it mean to be a member, how does membership work, things like that. And these are some other timely topics: elder financial abuse, dealing with debt, planning for the unexpected, payday loans. These are some of the other topics that we have resources for on mycreditunion.gov. Next slide. Again, these resources are available in many different formats, from web articles to printed articles, brochures that you can print for your staff to send out to consumers during this time. We know that not everybody has great access to the internet, and so that some printed materials are still popular to send out to members who don't have that great access. We also have videos, short and long videos, and I'll go over some interactive apps and learning apps that we have in just a moment. Next slide. This is the Share Insurance Toolkit that I referenced earlier in this presentation. Please check it out, mycreditunion.gov/shareinsurance. Again, these are really helpful resources with basic messaging to instill confidence in the general public and in your members, to make sure they understand your money is insured, and also potential members who may be looking for an account. We have the Your Insured Funds brochure booklet. That is the core booklet many of you are probably familiar with. You can order that actually through us as well. You can order printed copies, and you can go to NCUA.gov and type in publications to get the number to our publications office that you can order. But like I mentioned, we have a lot of interactive online resources that you can use as well. Next slide. And this is just what you'll see on the toolkit in terms of the graphics that you can click on to access the various sections. Next slide. This is the interactive information graphic on what is a credit union. It breaks down what membership means, how fee to membership works. It breaks down what a credit union is compared to banks. It's interactive. It's available free of charge for you to use as you are necessary. Certainly after this national crisis is over, you can use this on a regular basis to go out and talk about how credit unions are different, the cooperative structure, the not-for-profit mission, things like that. Next slide. As I wrap up, these are two of our very popular interactive resources. This is a Hit the Road game. It's called Hit the Road, and it's for ages 10 to 15. It's a throwback to the Oregon Trail type gameplay. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Oregon Trail, but I certainly am. There are students who go on a cross-country road trip in this game, and they have to, the journey's not easy. They have to save and spend money wisely and complete challenges along the way. So it's a great tool to kind of mix up the learning, how learning is going on right now in a remote posture. This is a great game to try to get the messages of personal finance and savings into the virtual curriculum. Next slide. This interactive app that can be downloaded on an Android and Apple device is for ages 5 through 10. It teaches coin recognition. It teaches basic math skills. You have their avatars that they can interact with, and they can build a magical little playhouse world out with the money that they earn from answering the correct questions that are a part of the game. So we encourage you to check out this World of Sense app and use it as you see fit. Next slide. And thank you for all of your efforts during this time. As Leah mentioned, that the broadcast today is jam-packed with so many great initiatives going on, and I don't want to take any more of your time, but please email me if you have any questions. If I wasn't clear about something, email me. We are here to help and assist as necessary. Thank you for this opportunity, and stay safe and well.
Thank you, Ken. There's a lot of great information that I hope a lot of us can use. So we're going to move on to focus on some credit unions that are doing some really cool things out there. We're going to start off with Kelly from Envision Credit Union.
Hey there, can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're good, Kelly.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Kelly, you're good.
Yes,
Okay,
we're all muted.
Well, I wasn't sure if the few who were open could hear, so I just wanted to make sure before I ranted on. Well, good afternoon. I'm on the East Coast over here, so it's afternoon for me. I want to tell you guys quickly about something that our credit union started doing as our answer to staying connected with our members for financial education. We love to do a lot of workshops around here, and we serve North Florida and South Georgia, and so we were started by teachers, so we are really tied in with the education community, and so we've really missed being able to connect in the classroom. So we thought, how in the world are we going to be able to continue to teach workshops, right, virtually, because we weren't doing that yet. You can advance to the next slide. So MoneyWise Wednesday is something that we just started doing. It actually started live. Our very first one was a Facebook Live because it was the only thing we knew how to use from a digital standpoint as far as putting our workshops out there live. And then, of course, very rapidly, as you all know, within the first 2 weeks of all of the COVID madness happening, we even felt, we were doing a disservice by all, doing our Facebook Lives together, because it took about 5 or 6 of us, to make all of that happen with someone doing the camera and all that stuff. So the second week we shifted and we went to a full pre-recorded platform. So MoneyWise Wednesday came out of this. We just decided to hold regular workshops every Wednesday, 10 a.m. for kids, 12 p.m. for adults. The first two were live, and then we shifted week 3 to do a pre-recorded one, and I'll explain how we do that in a little bit. So first, we just decided on doing something regularly so that our members could just engage with us through social media. Now, I want to preface, we use 2 particular curriculums here. We use It's a Money Thing for our younger followers, and then we use EverFi for our adult curriculum or our more mature curriculum. We call our curriculum platform MoneyWise, so that's where the MoneyWise came from. But it is our adult content is powered through EverFi. So if you're thinking of doing something digital, you can totally use whatever curriculum that you love and that you're using. You can advance to the next slide. So basically what we do is, like I said, we do 2 videos. Now we pre-record them. So my team, there's 3 of us, and we basically meet together on Zoom. We were first trying to use Microsoft Teams, but because we already use that internally, but it didn't work for us because all 3 of our faces couldn't be seen on the screen. It was only the 2 other people I was talking to. And if I was the host, then I wanted my face to be seen too if members were watching the video. So we tried out Zoom and we liked it. I think there are some other really great options out there too. If you're familiar with a conferencing program that works for you, we encourage you to do that too. But we liked Zoom because we could do a custom background, so we could, avoid all the noise. In Microsoft at the time, we couldn't do that with Teams yet. The custom backgrounds weren't available at the time that we started all this. So we record the session, and then we upload it into iMovie on our Mac, and we edit it directly from there. So we cut it down to size. We do try to keep our workshops to be 20 to 30 minutes. I know that sounds really long for something on social, but again, it's replacing our live workshops, which normally were like a lunch and learn that lasted an hour. So for us to be able to cut it down is good, and we're getting better at that. But we recommend about 10 to 20 for the kiddos, and then maybe 20 to 30 for adults. Then we just create thumbnail images. We use Canva. I didn't put that on here, but we use Canva. It's free, so I encourage you to use Canva if you're not already using it to create some thumbnail images that you can use at the beginning of your video, which you can just toss it right up there in your iMovie. Music to it as well, which we also can do through iMovie to make it really easy. And so the final production is saved as a video file, and we upload it into Facebook as a preview. You can schedule it a few days before, so we always schedule on Mondays, and then it premieres. The reason why we really like the preview option is kind of a new tool, so we kind of like this because it still allows you to control the content as far as you don't have to worry about the awkwardness of Facebook Lives and stuff like that. It gives you time as well to get things through compliance if they need to be pre-checked first. But why we like preview the most is because it still allows your viewer to interact through comments and liking as if it were a live video. So it kind of gives the viewer a feel like this is actually happening right now, although we may have recorded it the week before. You can go ahead and advance there. This is just some screenshots of our videos. As you can see, we have a lot of fun with it, especially with the kids. We get to be a little more laid back. We do embed the video. So if you look at the It's a Money Thing picture, has the little play button on there. We actually show the video content and watch it all together as if we were in front of the classroom. So you can upload videos into your iMovie and make it one long video, which is kind of cool. But we control it all from our website. So all of our content is embedded directly on our website. And we just do a screen share and navigate from there. So the viewer sees what the host is seeing. Go ahead and advance one more. So this kind of gives you an idea of the share curriculum. So this is an example of what we would click on in an adult playlist with EverFi. So we kind of point them, this is where we're teaching from today. This is what we're doing, so that they can see if they were at home, how they would be able to come back to this if they wanted to do their own custom playlist or talk about it together as a family. You can advance one more. And again, just some other pictures of how we promote it or embed it. The picture on the left is embedded directly in our site. So that's a screenshot from our actual website. So we do a screen share, we click on the button, make it bigger from there, and we watch the video all together. And then the one on the right is just an example of a social post. Go ahead and advance. It's a Money Thing, like I mentioned earlier, we have that embedded directly into our site. This is a snippet from our website. We have a grid basically in our website that has all the different money topics, and we just click on each box whenever we're ready to talk about the topic for the day. Next slide.
Hey, Kelly, I want
Yes.
to interrupt real quick. We had a question come in. Somebody had asked, how can we see some of your videos? Do you have a link or a page that you can
Yes.
direct people?
Yep, the last slide, I've got our information on the last slide here. So I think it's the next one. So I'll get to that in just a second. I did reach out to It's a Money Thing. I'm not trying to like toot their horn for them or promote for them. I'm not like being paid a fee or anything, but we do love It's a Money Thing a lot. And they actually reached out to us on week 3 because they saw what we were doing, and they interviewed us for their for one of their podcasts that they're doing. To share information with more credit unions. And so we wanted to kind of give them a shout out. But when I reached out to them and told them, I asked them if I could have some more information or if I had permission to share some information in today's call, they actually said they wanted to do a discount. So just know that there's a coupon code here. If you are not already using a curriculum that you love, but you want something, for your younger folks, I recommend It's a Money Thing. And they are doing a discount. So if you just reach out to them with that code of NYIB 25, you'll get 25% off your first year. You can certainly reach out to me if you have more questions. Next slide, please. I think my last slide, yep, this is my contact information. If you want to find us on Facebook, you can just search for Envision Credit Union and you should be able to see all of our video series. I think we're up to week 5 now. So you can kind of get an idea for what we're doing. You'll see kind of how the evolution of how we probably started off really bad and then how it kind of got a little better. And that's just because trial and error, right? You just keep trying, you fail forward. It gets better each week because we tweak it or we get, it gets a little shorter. So you can email me directly at kelly@envisioncu.com. You guys can call or text me anytime right here on, that's my cell phone number. And then you can certainly check us out online if you want to see our It's a Money Thing or our MoneyWise platform, which again is powered through EverFi. Just go to envisioncu.com. And you should be able to find the financial education resources on the menu. But if you're looking for something specific or you want to reach out, you're welcome to reach out to me directly, and I can answer any questions that you might have. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity to speak today. It's we've been having a lot of fun with it. Big learning curve for us, of course, but during times like this, you just gotta teamwork, together to make it all happen. And so it's been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot. We've changed a lot of the ways we're going to do things in the future. For this as well. I don't see us stopping this, actually. It's really inspired us to continue to connect with our members in this capacity. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise for us, so to speak. So if you're interested and want to hear more, feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I had a really good conversation with Kelly. She actually told me about the premiere video thing on Facebook, and we actually tried it for a first time last week, and it worked out pretty good for us too. So another feature to check out, but something that everybody, I think we could adapt and change up to help our credit union members out there. Now we're moving on to Tina from the RMJ Foundation.
Good morning. It's still morning here in California, so good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast or across the country. Thanks so much to the Education Credit Union Council and NYIB for putting on this, this webinar. I think this is really great information. I'll just start with a quick overview of who is the RMJ Foundation. We are the State Credit Union Foundation for California and Nevada. We just have kind of a different name than most of our sister state credit union foundations. So we created the Bite of Reality program, which is a reality fair like many of you all do across the country. And a couple years ago, we developed an app to go with it so that the students, instead of having a packet of paper and pencils and calculators and checkbooks and all of those things in their hands when they go to from station to station in a reality fair, they simply download our app and basically do online banking, if you will, with their app as they go from station to station. So the program has gotten quite large in California and Nevada, and we've actually licensed our app out across the country. We have a number of other state credit union foundations that have versions of the app that are available to all the credit unions in their states. And then we also have a handful of individual credit unions that have versions of the app. So things were running along quite smoothly. We were growing, we were hitting huge numbers of students. And then, you know, the pandemic happened and we literally had dozens of fairs canceled in March and April. And so we kind of scrambled to try to figure out how we could continue that learning. Obviously, kids are not in school anymore, so in-person fairs were just not happening. And we wanted to be able to reach these students at home in some way. So we worked with our developers and we created what we're calling a remote version of the app to go with remote reality fairs. So the idea is, instead of students all getting together in person to do a reality fair, we created a PowerPoint that that can walk the students through a reality fair step by step. But to do that, we had to make changes to the app. There are a lot of things in the app that are randomized on purpose because you don't necessarily want all the students having to go, for example, to the credit union station at once. And you want them to be able to go to each fair, each station kind of randomly in the order that they choose. But if you're doing a reality fair on a Zoom call, for example, using a PowerPoint, that becomes unwieldy. So we made some tweaks to the app so that everybody can go from station to station in order. We have what we call fickle finger of fate or life event pop-ups that happen randomly typically throughout the exercise. And so we've changed that so that everybody gets their negative fickle finger of fate, so their bad news comes up at the exact same time for everybody on the call. So whoever is facilitating knows exactly, you know, what the students are seeing at that time. Same thing with the credit card payment that's embedded in the app. Typically that comes up randomly, but we've put that in a static place just to allow, again, for that kind of more smooth transition from event to event as we're doing the reality fair remotely. We still have, you know, the opportunity for many of the same elements of an in-person fair. So, you know, there's still the ability to do selling. We just launched this last week and we had a training session with a number of our credit unions on Monday. I guess that was yesterday. And a number of them, you know, on that training call actually came up with some great ideas about how they could, you know, send the students in Zoom specifically. You can have little breakout session rooms. So there are a lot of ways to still kind of create that upsell environment, but be able to do it remotely. So this being Financial Literacy Month, and again, having had, you know, quite a number of reality fairs canceled, we're hoping to be able to reach some of those students, at least, that we might have been able to reach in person with this new remote version of the reality fair. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Nothing so far in the chat box yet, but that's great content.
All right, well, thank you. And I look forward to hearing what everybody else is doing as well.
Thank you, Tina. So a lot of really cool things coming out of this, even despite the fact that, you know, a lot of us are probably sitting at home and we're not able to be in the classroom. I really think of really cool ways to reach people and kind of thinking outside the box. And this next one is Teresa. She's going to talk about her student banking program that they're still running. Teresa on, mute. I'm not sure if we have Teresa on right now, but Karen, did you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, so Teresa, if you're there, if we can bring her in, that would be great. Can you hear me, Leah?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so Edge Federal Credit Union is located outside of Syracuse, New York. So up here in New York, we're obviously pretty locked down. But Teresa at her credit union, a relatively small credit union, 51 million, has always done a phenomenal job at reaching out to her students. And they've been remarkable at continuing to serve their members through a number of different ways. I should say, keeping connected with the students. So if you want to go to the next slide, we can talk about some of the things they're doing. First of all, they are continuing their student banking days. What they're doing is sending out a tweet, as you can see below in the insert, when students are called and their banking day comes up. So that tweet is a reminder. They go through the drive-through, and so they're keeping that program moving right along. Next slide. The other thing that they're doing is staying connected again through social media. One is they're continuing their Cub Times, which is their newsletter for young folks K to 12, or actually elementary, with their coloring contests. And of course, as you see, they're announcing their birthdays. And down here on the left, they have this interesting kind of like a scavenger hunt idea, but basically a way to connect with students and let them do some things online through this Cub Missions. So again, keeping young folks connected and feeling like perhaps there's still things going on at the credit union, and also ways to stay connected with parents as they're trying to homeschool. Next slide. Again, this small credit union is staying connected with the teachers. They have a bulletin board where they're able to be a part of posting messages. And then over here on the right of your screen, they also have a short survey where they're reaching out to members through their online banking, and just really quick questions and getting feedback. And again, just helping to stay connected in kind of a more live format versus just over the teller line and through the drive-through. So again, kudos to Teresa and her team in upstate New York, again, relatively small, and just doing some great things.
And it does look like Teresa is with us. She's on her phone and was unable to unmute herself. So thank you, Teresa, for laying out that information for us. And if we have any questions, remember at the end, we'll be providing contact information too. But I was really excited to see that and think about how I can engage with our young members still through the drive-through. All right, and now we're moving on to from HRCU Credit Union in New Hampshire, and she's going to talk about some interactive things that she's been working on.
Hello, everybody. Like Leah said, my name is Angela Latamy. I work at HRCU. Little background, I'm a financial educator at HRCU, but what that means is I'm primarily teaching at a high school. We have a high school student-run branch at Spalding High School, and so I'm in the classroom daily teaching a CTE program on banking and financial support services. So with everything changing, I have moved to remote teaching. So I have kind of a virtual classroom. I use Google Classroom, Zoom, and I use this program called Nearpod. Okay, there we go. So Nearpod is an instructional platform that merges formative assessments and dynamic media for collaborative learning experiences. So I really like it because you can take information that you might already have. So say, for example, you already have a Google Slides presentation or you have a PowerPoint presentation, you can upload it directly into Nearpod, and then you're able to input kind of collaborative activities, participation activities. That way you know that the students, or if you're doing it for an adult audience, that they're staying engaged during the presentation. With that said, there are two different types of lesson plans through Nearpod. Nearpod offers a self-paced lesson plan. This means the student can do it on their own time. They can access it anywhere they might be. However, there is a cost associated with this portion of it, so I have yet to try it just because we have not paid for it. I simply use the synchronized lesson. So this means it's a live instruction. Basically, how I have been doing it in my Google Classroom virtually is I have the students sign on to a Zoom platform with me. They're able to minimize the Zoom, that way they can still hear me, and then they access the Nearpod presentation. They're able to use either an app on their cell phone, an app on their tablet, or they can simply use a URL if they're on a website to just join the Nearpod presentation. So what that does is it gives me, the teacher, control over the presentation. I'm the one advancing the slides, kind of similar to this, but it also embeds all that participation and collaborative work right onto their screens as well. So far, I've only used this in the classroom setting with my students. However, next week, HRCU is actually putting on a virtual lunch and learn for teachers at Spalding High School. Prior to everything happening, we did have a lunch and learn scheduled in regards to credit scores. So we decided to move it virtually. We're going to do it through Nearpod, so it's interactive. It's really awesome because once you're finished that presentation, all those interactive pieces that you might use, you can download a report and have that for your information to kind of go back to, or if there are any questions, you have that report as well. So when I talk about the collaboration or the interactive pieces, there's three things that you can embed into your presentation: content, web content, or activities. So like I said, you can use PowerPoint or Google Slides, but you can actually embed another mini slideshow directly into the presentation itself. So that's a little interesting if you want to add some other stuff. That way the student or the audience can kind of click through on their own if you have 2 to 3 extra slides you want them to see. There's also 3D images, virtual field trips. You can upload audio or PDFs. In regards to the web content, this is where you're able to actually upload any of the videos you might find, whether it's YouTube videos, Edpuzzle videos, anything like that, or you can actually upload websites, so anything with a URL-based content. So this is really interesting if you have a website that you use that you want your students to kind of look through and research themselves. So if you upload the website into your presentation, it's on their screen through the Nearpod, and they're able to actually go through and click on the website just like they were using their own URL. And then lastly are the different activities. So this, especially with the students, the high school students that I'm teaching, I use a lot of these activities just because it's fun, it's interactive, it gets them engaged. You can ask poll questions, and then you're able to share out those results directly on the Nearpod screen so that the audience can see. The draw it feature is neat. You can ask them a question and have them draw it. Then you can share out different ones. Time to Climb is a game. So it's embedded right in the Nearpod. So I will talk about other interactive games like Kahoot and Quizzes in just a second, but the Time to Climb is specific to Nearpod, which means it's right in the presentation. They don't have to get out of the presentation to go somewhere else to play a game. It's all right there in this one presentation. Matching is kind of like a matching pairs game. The Collaborate board, I use this a lot. You can make it look just like a bulletin board, and then they can answer either questions or collaborate on different information, and it posts kind of like a post-it note right on the bulletin board. So I really like this Nearpod. I find it very interesting to keep kind of the kids engaged so that I know that they're collaborating, they're interacting during a presentation versus just me simply showing them my screen. The last piece of this is the lesson library. So if you didn't want to upload your own material, you can actually go right into their lesson library, and they do have lessons already created that you could potentially purchase if you wanted to do that. This is just a screenshot of a couple of them. There are more in there for sure. If you create it yourself, you do not have to pay. And one thing I will say about Nearpod, it is geared toward school teachers. And as you all know, we're credit union members or credit union employees. So a lot of you might not have a school email address like I have the school email address. That is okay. You can still sign up for Nearpod and you can still use Nearpod. It will ask you for the school that you work for, and you can just simply skip over this step and still use it. I contacted Nearpod directly just to make sure. So like I said, you guys are able to use Nearpod as well. So some of the interactive games that I like to use both in the classroom and now outside of the classroom are Kahoot, Quizzes, Edpuzzles, and Quizlet. So all of these are games that the students can use, but they're all a little bit different. For example, Kahoot is typically a teacher-directed game, meaning if you've ever played it before, the question and the answers are typically on the screen that the teacher is presenting, and then the students answer either on their phone or a tablet. One thing that they have now is a student-paced version. This way, if you are teaching remotely or virtually, you're able to give out the Kahoot information and students can actually take the quiz in their own time, in their own home, things like that. Quizzes is similar, except it's student-directed. So for this one, I use this one a lot. The students all can take the same quiz at the same time, but all of the questions, all of the answers are on their devices versus being on the teacher's device. Or same thing, you're more than welcome to do this as a homework assignment or share out to your students, and they're able to do that as well. Edpuzzle is a neat feature where you can take videos and actually embed questions into those videos so that it can stop at a specific time and ask a question regarding what was on that video. And lastly is Quizlet. This is more flashcard based. So if you have a term and a definition, that's what you would use this primarily for. But same thing, you can give your flashcard deck to your students and they can work on stuff remotely. They have different options like a matching game, a gravity game, and things like that. Lastly, Next Gen Personal Finance. This is a great organization that has created a completely free personal finance curriculum, primarily for high school students, but also they now have a middle school curriculum as well. And they have all sorts of resources on their website. So activities, case studies, projects, video library, and they have this. This is the arcade. The arcade consists of 9 different interactive games. It can cover anything from budgeting, paying for college, careers, investing, and more. And these are just a couple of them to show you. And you can very easily share out the links for these and have students play these virtually, and there's even a reflection worksheet. So the reflection worksheet is through Google Docs, but you can definitely download that elsewhere and play this. I see Amanda says, Build Your Stacks is awesome, and yes, it is. Build Your Stacks is an investing game. It actually goes through 20 years of investing in 20 minutes, and you get so much pocket cash and you're able to invest it. The really cool thing about Build Your Stacks is after you finish, you find out that your 20 years was actually based on historical data from a 20-year time period. So that's a really awesome game to play. Payback for College is all about paying for college, and they actually usually in the fall have a scholarship opportunity that goes with the payback. So you can always keep an eye out for that too. But these interactive games are really fun. They're very interactive. And if you use the reflection worksheet, it's a great way to make sure like the kids are doing it, they've answered, and it's kind of like an exit ticket for them as well. So those are the resources that I use. Like I said, I use them in the classroom, but I also use them now remotely as well. And it's easy to kind of share them depending upon Google Classroom, things like that.
All right, thank you, Angela. So a lot of different interactive things that we can be using, not just in the classroom, but I can see how a lot of our members might be wanting to interact with us on some of these different games and being able to build in things into our webinars and things like that. So next we're going to hear from Dan Barry. He is from Duke University Federal Credit Union. And Dan, on?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to just build off what the previous people said, not reiterate their points. A couple of things that I think we're all interested in is what's happening to our field of membership. And even in the universities, it's kind of interesting. Some have already canceled their summer sessions, and there's questions about this fall that it takes roughly a month or two to get everything organized and ready. So you probably should hear in June what's going to happen this fall, whether students will come on campus or not. It's also interesting because it's not just what's happening at your school. For example, we're in North Carolina. The curve for North Carolina is kind of irrelevant. You've got students from all over the US and all over the world. What's happening there, because what the school does not want is for one student to come in and bring it back to that community. So that's going to be pending. The biggest takeaway that maybe could help some people today, we are going to do a virtual annual meeting. And one of the things that we're doing is we're working with Zoom and trying to mute all participants. We did ours live instead of doing it pre-recorded. And for that, we really wanted to have a Q&A session to give people the opportunity to ask questions. Probably their questions are a lot less of last year than what we're doing today, but it's still a good way to communicate. And so those are my main comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone would have.
You bring up an interesting thought. How many credit unions out there right now, or anybody that's on this call, has anybody done like a Q&A session for their members virtually during this time, like answering any of the questions, like information that maybe Ken brought up at the beginning or anything like that? You can add that into the chat box, I guess. But just a thought, that'd be interesting to hear. So one question though I have for you, Dan.
We're going to have a co-host, and then that way the co-host can read through the questions. And that way we're a little bit more efficient in how we answer them.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Oh, good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dan. And now from the university standpoint for your members, are you doing any type of different reach out for college students or people that are your member base?
College students are more conducive to remote. It's just not usually done in April. So it's a little bit easier for a transition. One thing that's going to be incredibly difficult is if students don't come on campus in the fall, getting additional accounts is going to be very, very difficult. And it's something that I think all college, university credit unions are going to have to deal with, that the number of students joining has decreased over the years because a lot of students have an account with mom and dad's credit union or bank back home and aren't looking for a new account when they get on campus. So it's just going to make it even more difficult this year.
Yeah, I can imagine that's really hard for a lot of the university credit unions right now. But thank you, Dan, and hopefully this will stir some conversations among people that may be able to share more ideas after this. I know we have some highlights that Karen had put together to highlight what other credit unions are kind of doing that she's kind of picked up on social media or come across. The next slide, and let Karen jump back on.
Great, thanks, Leah. Yeah, and I'd like to say thank you, Dan. As you can see, we at ECUC have both education, K-12, and also university and college. And of course, Dan at Duke University has given us an interesting perspective in the fact that he has a lot of international students. And so he's going through things that the K-12 are not. Also, I'd like to say that Dan is our newly elected in February president of the ECUC board. So he's gotten baptism by fire. Okay, moving along, I went through and pulled out some ideas from the attendees in most cases. And the first one I want to talk about is Educational Systems Federal Credit Union. They're a longtime ECUC member. And in fact, I believe if they're with us, we have Christy and also Carol Ann. So after I get done talking, if either one of you want to unmute yourself and add any thoughts. But I thought what they were doing is kind of
followed by the pound or hash sign.
What I wanted. Hello. What I wanted to mention is educational systems.
To enable audio control, please enter your audio PIN followed by the pound or hash sign. If you do not have a PIN, just press pound or hash.
Keith, can you maybe mute?
I'm working on that right now.
Okay. I'll just wait one moment to talk about. Okay, I think we're all set. Okay, so back to educational systems. They're doing this readathon, and it's presented, and it looks as though they're using celebrities, if you will, personalities from their local communities, and these are streamed live. And so I guess I would ask Christy or Carol Ann, did you want to add anything to this and talk about the success? If either of you are with us, maybe they're not with us, looked as though they were registered. So that's an idea. Next slide. Also at A Plus Credit Union, and I believe we have Zita or Latricia here with us, they too are doing a story time, and that looks like it's on Facebook Live. So are either one of you wanting to chime in and add any thoughts? No? Okay. Next slide. USC, of course, is University Credit Union. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Karen, I was going to jump in. This is Leah. I was going to jump in for a second, but I've noticed that story times have really picked up in credit unions, and I think it's really cool that we're taking these books and sharing them that way. So I just wanted to point that out, that I've seen that a lot, and I think it's really neat to see these different ways that everybody's doing that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And I think the idea of using local personalities really gives you a little more bang for your buck. Educational systems, it looks like they were tapping maybe local baseball team, semi-pro. So whatever it takes, everybody wants to get involved, and that gives you a little more oomph. Back to USC in California. We have with us Terry Dennison, if she's still on the line. Certainly when I'm done talking about what you're doing, chime in. They are, of course, another webinar, and this looks as though it's targeted toward college or students versus the K-12. So they're busy there. Next slide. Class Act Federal Credit Union in Kentucky. Tom is with us today, if he's still on the line. And it looks as though they're offering their teachers resources, and there's a ton of different ones out there, and they're promoting Bonsai. Tom, did you want to say anything? Nope, I guess not. Okay, next slide. Empower Federal Credit Union is in upstate New York, and they have this scholarship idea with the Financial B, and they have this program where you complete and win up to $10,000 in college scholarships with this 5-day challenge. So that's through EverFi, and I think that was mentioned earlier. So again, some just really creative ideas to pull the students in and get them active. And Cheryl was registered to join us, and if she's on, she can chime in if she'd like.
Yep, I am here. It's Cheryl Wells with Empower Federal Credit Union. Hi, Karen and everybody.
Hi, it's good to hear you.
This was a Financial B that came up through EverFi, and we do not have a partnership with them, but they opened it up to anyone who wanted to be part of this. So it runs from April 20th this week to the 24th, and kids can go online. It could be members or non-members, and they go through 5 modules that take about 10 minutes each, and then anybody can do it. And then there's an essay that the kids can write and submit online, and there's 3 scholarships. And then Empower also added 5 $100 Target gift cards. So we just added to the prizes. But just something kind of to get it going. But I believe I know it's nationwide, and there's 23 other financial institutions also doing this. So far,
great.
so good.
Good. Are you doing anything else you'd like to share with us?
I just wanted, if I can ask, like just from everyone else, just all the things, which is great today. I'm so glad I'm listening and watching, is to hear how you guys are recording things, because it's so hard to do from home and we just don't have the whole team to do it. So any tips on, the Facebook Live and the, different things that you've already said have been great. So thank you.
Good. That's great. Listen, Leah, if you don't mind going back to educational systems, Christy is with us. So Christy, if you want to chime in, if you want to just back up Leah on a couple slides to right there. Oh, right there. Christy, go ahead and share.
Sure. So every year we have a partnership with the Maryland Blue Crabs. It's a minor league baseball team, and we do this reading program. And typically we go from school to school and promote reading. The kids who read 4 books outside their regular curriculum, they get an extra ticket to the baseball game. But now that baseball is put on pause, they decided to take this virtually, and they're doing this whole virtual readathon. So I think we're definitely getting a lot of value out of the program, where the team was able to modify the program to meet the needs of this new environment that we're living in. So it's been a great partnership.
Good. Christy, are you doing anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Nothing else as it relates to dealing with COVID. We have some other projects going on at the credit union right now that we've been focused on. So we have not done anything else. But I've really enjoyed other people's ideas on the financial literacy and the programs. I've gotten a lot out of the session.
Good, great. Well, thanks a lot. And thanks to Caroline also. Okay, Leah, if you want to skip to the last slide in this section, I'll wrap up these great ideas from credit unions. And this is actually from Keith's Credit Union Spokane. These are just screenshots of a number of different tweets that they put out there, which I thought were pretty effective. And if you look at the number of views, I mean, some of them are really rocking. And they're just cute little things. And it looks like the credit union's doing these once a day or once every couple days. And of course, you know, tagging the business, in this case, say the university or Walmart. And they were just really, in my opinion, as I look through, very warm and, you know, pretty basic, doesn't take a lot of energy and, you know, bare bones, something like this. So Keith, did you want to share anything and talking about what you're doing?
Absolutely. Thanks for finding these. I was surprised when I saw these in the slide deck. These are, we call these our member data stories. And what's been so unique about this is that obviously these had to shift a lot because there were different messages, but being able to mine, you know, and use our member data to kind of say, well, who's still out there on the front lines, and be able to target that message to say thank you or things like that. So this has been extremely awesome to see it pivot. I mean, in a week, all these different messages came up, and our team put this together. I can't take credit. I just get to see them on the billboards all over town, which has been really fun. So thanks for finding these, and it's been a really resonated well in our community that these are going out and being seen at. In fact, we've seen some people say, hey, that's me, you know, or they actually chime in on social media because they're being recognized, their credit union's recognizing them on a billboard for, you know, one of them is, you know, thanks for restocking toilet paper. That was the Costco one, I think. So, so they've been really funny and timely, and not making light of the situation, more of saying thank you for what you're doing. So, and I will also take this time too, since everyone's sort of sharing what's going on. We've jumped on the Storytime bandwagon as well. We've never done digital, and last week rolled out our first live Zoom meeting. So we haven't been doing pre-recorded, we're actually on air live, and that's been a new thing for us. So that's been a learning experience to do both youth and adult workshops live, real time, using chat box. Of course, that involves not only the presenter, but also a moderator. So there's two of us on our team working together, signing in early, having a game plan. We have kind of a two-way glass kind of thing. So I'm teaching in one room, and I'm getting kind of like a radio show going on here. So we're really trying to think outside the box to continue bringing financial education to our communities.
Good, great, thanks, Keith. So that wraps up my kind of hodgepodge of what some of these credit unions are doing. And again, just trying really, really hard to get creative, to keep students and teachers and our education community engaged, and to try to stay connected. So thanks, guys, for sharing.
Yes, thank you everyone for sharing things. Oh, we had one more, I guess, on college scholarship programs too.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and North Island Credit Union isn't with us, but this was one release that they sent to us at ECUC, and I wanted to echo that a number of credit unions are still moving forward with their scholarship programs, which happen annually about this time of year. So certainly that's happening and not interrupted. So that's it.
Great. All right. So I know we've kind of gone over the time frame here, and I see a lot of people putting in questions in the chat box or making suggestions. So I did want to mention, though, this session, and I'm going to take kind of like a lot of the resources that have been shared and some of the idea and content that people put out there and kind of make of a document that we could share out to all the attendees as well. So if you do have something that you think is working really well for you, feel free to shoot me an email. It'll probably take me a couple of days to create the document, but there's just so much information and so many cool things I see credit unions doing out there. Like I personally go in and Google and type in credit unions and financial education, and then hit the news area to see what credit unions are doing out there. Just because I've just gotten so many ideas, just seeing what people are doing, and just, you know, overall reaching financial, you know, still doing our financial education outreach is really important during this time. And, you know, especially when we do get out of this, you know, helping our members be, you know, back on their feet, or, you know, going back to school, it's just going to be a whole different fall. And like Dan said, we don't know too, we won't know about our universities and schools probably until this summer what's going to be happening. So I see a lot of people sharing information, which is great. I see Andrea Tucker, you asked a question. I will be sending out the attendee list to everyone as well. So if you wanted to scroll through, you'll be able to see that. If you marked no or did not answer that question, I will remove you from the list because I know a few people did that. So we will have that attendee list going out and hopefully just starting some new connections out there and collaboration. I've been very happy to work with you, Karen, on this and our NYIB crew. This has been amazing. Just overall, just hearing what everybody is doing. I don't know if Trish wanted to jump on and say anything.
No, I was just going to say thank you for everyone that joined us and for all the awesome collaboration that took place today. Thank you again to Leah and Karen for getting this going. Thank you to Keith for hosting this. Thank you to Angela for being our clicker for the day. For as many people as joined, I think this was absolutely awesome. So if anyone has anything else, I will turn it back over to Leah.
No, I am actually good. Karen, did you want to do a final goodbye?
Yeah, just one big thank you to Dan and to Teresa and the others that chimed in, and for NYIB to invite us. And I'd also like to just commend our credit unions. I mean, if 60 days ago we were told that our lobbies had to be shut down and drive-through only, mobile banking, schools would be closed, and this whole whirlwind was to take place, what would we think? So what's interesting is how resilient and how responsive our credit unions have been in so many ways, not just with their school programs. So it just goes to show you that being small, relatively speaking, small credit unions, even billion-dollar shops are small compared to banks, that we can move quickly. And we created at ECUC the hashtag credit unions carry on, and that's exactly what we're doing. So thank you and keep up the great work.
Yes, thank you to everyone very much for your time today. And I see people, we need to do this again, but we'll definitely be in touch. I think it was fun. And I think as we continue to navigate, so I would not be opposed to doing another one. So I hope everyone has a good rest of their day, and we'll be in touch soon.